Welcome ladies, welcome guys. I'm proud to be here and talk to you about my part of it, the human part of biz DevOps, or everyone's responsibility for the team culture. Let me do some remarks at this very first beginning. Team culture for me isn't the thing to go out together and have some beer. It could be, yeah, but it's not the only way of team culture. Team culture is how we deal with each other in daily work, each day, minute by minute. And the other thing is, no system works without the human inside. For bringing a system, which system ever, to life, you have to get the human follow the system. Follow because they like to follow the system, and then it will work. About me, for more than 20 years of experience in teaching people in soft skills, communication skills, teamwork, team culture, and a new art of leadership, you can say I help teams to solve your human problems and misunderstandings. Some time ago, a friend of mine, himself developer and CEO of a German IT company, asked me to do some trainings for his employees in communication skills. And I said, oh, training nerds in communication skills? I don't know if I will like that. But as a freelancer, I said, yes, okay, I'll try my very best. And I started a lot of research on this topic. And I found out that you find a lot about agile management. You find a lot about DevOps. You find a lot about tools. But you don't find much about soft skills for people working in IT. And so I said, okay, I'll make a project out of it. The center parts of my work are the two sentences above. Think outside the box means for me being open-minded. Look what's going on beneath your well-known past, and don't say no, new isn't very interesting to me, but say, yes, I will look if this new kind of idea will work for me, and then decide if it fits or not. The other part is focus on the human factor instead of always looking at economical figures. So I have two new projects, SOFIT, Soft Skills for Employee in IT, and LAAS, Leadership as a Service. Let's take a dip together into the world of nerds and geeks and see if they are that different to the ordinary people like me and the so-called nerds like you. And I think we will be surprised. We are all the same. Perhaps you think you are different, but that's not my fault. There's one very interesting book about soft skills for software developers. It's a German book, Success of Project, Soft Skills for Software Developers. And there's a sentence which is for me the cornerstone of my work. Projects rarely fail because of technical issues. Far more often the reasons for failure seem to be related to the topic of soft skills. The education of software specialists include a lot of technical content, but less questioning techniques, conflict management, and communication tools. So this is what I think is very important. The requirements of your daily work are changing. And the skills you have to bring with you have to change parallel. And so it is necessary to talk about what you can do about your soft skills and your communication skills, if you need to. What happened so far? I was playing with stereotypical thinking, and perhaps I raised up some biases on all sides of stakeholders. But stereotypical thinking is everywhere. All the time we have to deal with stereotypical thinking because we are human. For example, men and women, or different nationalities. When you look at intercultural workplaces, you have to deal with different nationalities, with different cultures. different professions. We heard about interdisciplinary work, cross-functional work, and so on. So we have different professions. We have different people with different skills needed to do their work. We have to focus on people from IT, like you, and the others. Maybe remember the word the others. I will come to it later. We have to think about DevOps, DevOps, and perhaps Biz. So in all these parts, there are BSs all the time. The question is how we deal with these BSs. Do we take them for granted, or do we try to be open-minded in both or all directions? When we bring different people from different professions together, we will bring up more BSs. But bringing different people from different professions together also means to raise up a huge opportunity to fulfill tasks, to solve problems. And this means diversity is beautiful. Take a look at yourself and at your team you're working in, and define the different tasks people in your team have to fulfill. And then ask yourself which abilities are needed to meet the requirements of these tasks. And then ask yourself if this does not mean that the characters of the people have to be different because they have to fulfill different requirements. So if we all are the same, we are not what we are, individuals. And we all want to be individuals. But if someone is different to us, it's difficult to accept that he is different. But we want to be accepted when we are different. And so we have to bring it up to the others themselves. And you can do it on your own, for your own team. What requirements are there for all parts of your team? And why do they need to be different to yourself? So let's find some commitments. Just to remark, the commitments I show here to you are just an idea. When you want to establish a team culture, it is very, very helpful to find commitments in your team. To write these commitments, your own team commitments down, and let everybody sign them. And then display them openly so that everyone can see these commitments each day and have a look on it, so that they won't forget about your commitments. The first commitment in my example here is welcome diversity. Develop a positive attitude according to diversity, because diversity is a unique opportunity for success because of the numerous points of view gathered in one single team. That's a great help for daily work, even when the times you had to deliver get shorter and shorter and shorter. Yeah? Many different points may help to find a solution much faster. To welcome diversity, we have to talk about attitudes. Attitudes in relationship. There is an American psychiatrist and author called Thomas A. Harris, and he developed four attitudes concerning relationships. One attitude is, I am okay and you are not okay. I don't have to try to explain something to you because you're so stupid that you won't understand it anyway. So I won't try it. The second attitude is, I'm not okay and you're okay. Sorry, dear, but I'm so stupid. Whatever you try, I won't understand it. By the way, that's the way I feel. I often feel when I talk to people from the technical side, because they see me as a woman and they think, oh, she won't understand it anyway, so why should I try? The third and most useless attitude is, I'm not okay, you are not okay, so what the hell is this for? We don't have to try anything because it won't lead to anything. Let's go and have some beer. The only useful and very important attitude for a working team culture is, I am okay and you are okay. And let's take this as a second paragraph, I'm okay, you are okay. No matter what education, experience or position we have, we meet at eye level. Only with this attitude we can give feedback, we can give appreciation, and we can find solutions together. Yeah, when we talk about attitude, we have to talk about ourselves. We have to talk about what's going on inside of us. When you talk about your own attitude, you have to be the leader of your own inner team. Whether you say I can or you say I can't, you will be right. What you believe is important for your success or your failure. It's your inner team which determines your attitude. You know your inner team? It's something when you want to go to have some sports. Yes, I need to go to sport. It's very healthy. No, I have to do a lot of work at the computer or even sit in front of the TV, or the weather isn't that fine, or the weather is too fine. Yeah, you have a lot of roles inside yourself. It's your inner team. And in this case, your inner team should be convinced to the attitude, I am okay and you're okay. Your inner team determines your attitude, and your attitude is the key to the self-fulfilling prophecy in success and in failure. So, you are responsible for your attitude. No one else. Only you. Let's talk about the most popular BS in the world concerning the IT people. Developers cannot communicate. Is this right? Yeah. I think there are developers who think that it's right. But at this point it's very interesting, because this bias is used from two sides. The others, they say developers cannot communicate, so I don't want to talk to them because they like it, they can't, they are not able to, so you can't communicate with them. But it's not my fault, it's their fault. I'm okay, they are not okay. But the developers themselves use this bias too. I cannot communicate the way that others understand me, so I won't do that. They don't understand me. Yet now at this point, two people meet. The one is from the others and the other from the IT world, the nerd. And they know what the other one is doing. And when both take their bias for granted, they won't communicate with each other. And what happens is the self-fulfilling prophecy, it's true. Yeah, we said it before. This happens when they take the bias for granted. But sorry, dear, you can communicate, and you do communicate every single day, minute by minute, second by second, even when you are saying nothing. When you are interested in this topic, communication without saying nothing, search for Paul Watzlawick, some scientist in communication. He has the 5 axioms of communication, and one of it is we cannot not communicate. It's a very complicated sentence, but it's also complicated in German. Whenever two people, at least two people, meet, communication starts. Communication is more than just the spoken word, you know. It's about our facial expression. It's about our chemistry between what's going on between us. And whenever people meet, they start communicating. I'm from the old school. Yes, I'm about 46 and I've learned some rules of behavior which are not that modern at all any longer. And for example, I've seen in the last talk some people sitting here with their laptops on their knees and tipping and tipping and tipping. For me, to my education, this is a sign of I'm not interested in what is said. I know that it's not the actual way of behavior, but for me, with my old school, it's my interpretation of that. So for me, it's a communication which is different to what the people really mean. And here, at this point, we are at the point when how communication works. We receive a message. You all know the sender-receiver model. Sender, receiver, message between. When we receive a message, verbal, non-verbal, written, spoken, doesn't matter, we immediately start our own interpretation of this message. Can't stop it. This interpretation is depending on our experience, perhaps with the sender, with this topic, with our wishes, or with our expectations, our fears, the circumstances, perhaps our mood, whatever. A lot of facts are influencing our interpretation. And the sender doesn't know about it. He doesn't know what is influencing my interpretation. According to my interpretation, I start to react. And with my reaction, I change my role. I'm not a receiver any longer. I'm a sender. And the sender, the former sender, gets the receiver. And the loop starts again of sending and receiving, sending and receiving. We are just changing roles all the time when we talk face to face. So we are at the same time sender and receiver. Because when you tell something to me and my face changes, my facial expression changes, you see my reaction, and perhaps you change the way of communicating with me because you are influenced by my reaction. And so it goes on and on and on. It's very interesting because although we are very familiar with communication from childhood on, communication often goes wrong. And there's another scientist about communication with a wonderful name, Friedemann Schulz von Thun. Don't you like this name? And he examines why communication often goes wrong. And he says that's because of the different levels we are sending and receiving. And he had built up a model called the 4 sides of a message. And there are the sides factual information, appeal, relationship, and self-revelation. And let me point out just 2 of them because they are the most different levels. It's the first one, it's the factual information, and the word itself says about what it is. The facts, the real naked facts, nothing more. And the other side, the relationship, which is full of feelings and emotions. You now can imagine what happens when the sender is sending on the factual information level and the receiver is listening on the relationship level. Most of you find examples for this in male and female relationship, but there are enough examples in working relationships as well. And this is one of the most important reasons why communication often leads to misunderstandings, because we are sending and receiving on different levels. And we have to make clear what we really want to say. And so, to avoid misunderstandings and conflicts, as a sender, we have to give interpretation aid, to point out what we really mean with precise formulations. As a receiver, we have to learn to ask precise questions before starting our interpretation. And we have to learn to give feedback about what we have understood and about what we feel. I think it's very important to talk about feelings when you talk about humans. Even when you are working in a man's world. Some ladies are here, but most of the employees in IT are men, and men don't like to talk about feelings, aren't they? But you have feelings, and you don't feel good when someone doesn't care about your emotions and your feelings. But how should he know when you don't talk about it? Yeah? And for this, you have to listen and observe carefully and openly. I said, communication is not only the spoken word. And you said it in your talk before. It's not only what is said, but how it is said and how a human behaves. I think that's very important to get a picture of this person and to see what happens to him. And when we talk about DevOps, we bring different characters together. And so one important thing is that they feel well together. Only when you feel well, you can do your best. So we have the next 3 paragraphs. Precise communication, ask questions, and feedback is good. To give good feedback, we have to find out some values, some very necessary and important values for a helpful feedback. We can give feedback, but the question is the feedback helpful for the other one? Or is it something which destroys our relationship when the feedback went wrong? So, 2 very important values about a team culture are respect and tolerance as a basic. Respect not in the meaning of to obey somebody, but to accept somebody as a human being, as an individual, and being on my eye level. I'm okay, you are okay. Let's take respect and tolerance as basic values for our commitments in team culture. When we talk about feedback, we can also talk about giving appreciation. In your first session, you said, tell me how you value me, then I'll tell you how I'll work. Appreciation in the daily work is a very important part of feedback. When we know what the other one thinking about us, how he measures me, which value I have to him or to her, then I can deal with the feedback about mistakes, about what went wrong, because I know he has a good picture of me. He knows what I can do for him. When I only get feedback when something went wrong, feedback is a very bad thing for me, because I'm afraid when he says, oh, come on, we have to talk together, I say, oh, no, what happened? What went wrong? When I know that you talk to me also when something went good, then it's okay. A thank you in the daily work can be a magical formula. So, appreciation as our paragraph 7 in this example for commitments and values. But who is responsible for keeping commitments? What do you think?
The team, everybody.
The team, everybody, yes. Everybody is responsible for keeping commitments to themselves and to the others, because you can't care for everything as a leader, but you are not out of duty in this case as a leader. As a leader, you have to give orientation, right? And in this case, I choose the word leader, not in the military style. We have the discussion yesterday evening. I choose the topic leader because a leader is someone who gives orientation. A leader is someone who brings you to places you won't go alone on your own. And a leader is someone who brings out the gold of your mind. And a leader is someone the people want to follow. Not they have to follow, but they want to follow. It's their own consideration to follow you. So it's a lot about of your personality. I, for myself, I'm not a friend of the word a manager. And I hate the word human resource manager because humans are no resources. Thank you. And that is the actual way in many companies. You're managing the people. I think that's not the way in the future, that we have to manage people. We have to lead people. And we have to, and that's my idea, give our leadership as a kind of service, as a kind of lifestyle, not a role we are playing, but an attitude. And for this reason, we have to become, to get a good overview over the situation, the actual situation in my team, over everyone's belongings in this team and everyone's needs. And when I know what my staff needs, I can support it. And with this support, I can help them to bring out the most effectiveness they have. I try to make the circumstances as well for them as possible, so that they only can concentrate on their work, on their job, on their task, not on all these external events which are disturbing the concentration. And with this, you can implement a human-centered leadership, for example, like LAAS, and so the leader is as well responsible for the team culture as everybody in the team. Don't forget, a working team culture is a delicate and agile process. It's not finished. It goes on and on and on. And it takes some time to develop and implement it. We cannot say, now we have a team culture, let's work on it. That won't work. It's a change of behavior, it's a change of attitude, and it needs time. And you have to work on it day by day, all of you. The topic about humans is so complicated. We can't talk about it in 30 minutes. It's just an overview about this topic. But I thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, we can talk about it later.
Hi, so for this healthy philosophy that I agree with 100%, how do you even begin to bring this into a big corporate environment?
Yeah. I think the bigger the environment is, desto the more difficult it is. But I think you have to start small. And it will be the first step to start in a small team. And don't look what the others are doing. Just in this small circle. I don't know if we have the task to reform everything. And I think it starts with you and the people right around you. first step.
Right, thanks. Yeah. What else?
Thanks for the talk. As a woman, I felt kind of addressed during your talk. I work in a team of 9 men.
Yes,
and
nice.
Honestly, I don't. So, okay, at my company, we have a very strong culture, and we have a strong feedback culture, and we work on how to communicate. So maybe I'm in a very lucky situation, but I feel kind of dangerous to say that men can communicate, but women can't. So I had the impression at some point at your talk, so it's rather a note that, so I don't agree with that, especially I have to work on my communication skills a lot in my team,
yeah.
So it doesn't, so yeah, women can't like communicate by default, that's my silence.
You're right, and that's just a little bit to provocate, not to be granted. No, you're right. I myself have worked in a company with only women, and I will never do that again. For no money on the world, yeah? Give me 9 male to work with and everything will be fine, but not with 9 women. No way. So I think that's enough explanation, isn't it? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
You touched me personally with this topic of communication, so I thought I might share my personal experience. Because 15 years ago, I was just the stereotypical nerd that you described. I only communicated through text. I avoided human contact for, if I could, I avoided it. And back then I discovered that on the long term, I won't be able to function in this society that communicates differently than just through text. So I went for a hunt and I found tools that enable me to understand what the communication is. I found neuro-linguistic programming. I took a course, and if I say it in the developer speak, I found the tools that enable me to parse what the communication is, what meanings are hidden in the communication, how to express myself so that others get my message, and so on.
Yeah, that's a good way. Just to explain, you are not the only one who cannot communicate when you cannot communicate. We find these problems in nearly every profession. Yeah? But sometimes I have the impression from the outside that especially people working on IT think they cannot communicate, but that's not true. You are not different in this case like other ones. There are a lot of people who don't want to communicate and to avoid communication. So that's some ordinary kind for human. It's not very special.
Yes. Thank you.